of Steel, Man of Steel.
Hey, you don't tug on Superman's cape. Reloading Weatherby. You dirty dog. What do you want?
I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
So what is the truth then?
Okay, so everything I'm about to say is, I'll preface it with, it's all hinging on and concerned with extreme rifle accuracy. The truth about extreme rifle accuracy, and most of it, it's what people don't want to hear. And the fact is truth in general is not what people want to hear. But people, as a group, people would rather hear positive, that's not the right word, palpable, easy lies than hard truth. Hard truth is not something that mankind has ever really embraced. Hard truth bites because it's hard. So that's where we'll start from. So the truth is, let's see where to start. Let's just use factory guns, just normal factory mass-produced guns, right? I have personal experience with probably, and this wouldn't be exactly dead on, but estimated 500, I would say. 500 rifles. I used to, at the first house that I owned, I had my own private range. And in Pennsylvania, there used to be like 1 million guys go in the woods, right? And so I sighted people's guns in, I reloaded for their guns, I mounted scopes, I did bedding, I cleaned guns, I just did about everything. And in the months leading up to deer season in Pennsylvania, I just had wooden racks along the walls. Sometimes there would be, I don't know, maybe 100 rifles. 100 rifles that guys would bring me, and I ended up shooting them all. So if I mounted a scope, I shot it. If I did reloading for it, I shot it. And so I have a lot of experience with a lot of factory guns. And the fact is, what people don't want to hear is they're all junk. Now, that's an all-inclusive extreme statement, but for the most part, they're all junk. If you, let's just say you had 100 brand new factory rifles, 100 of them, right? And just say it was all of them, all the different makes, all the different brands. Say you had 10 of every one you could think of, 10 Remingtons, 10 Tikas, 10 Savages, 10 all of them. And you took them out and you shot them all. What you would find out is at least 20% of them are total junk. They're just total junk. There's nothing you could ever possibly do that's going to make them shoot much under 2 inches. That's the real truth of that, 2 inches. Then there's going to be quite a large percentage of them in there, say maybe another 20 or 30 or even 40, that are going to shoot 1 3/4 to maybe 1.5 inches, right? And that's it. That's what they're going to do. And pretty much anything, this is one of the things I found out over all those years by trying to improve their accuracy, because you know where this came from. You know the comment that was just on one of your videos, where I commented to one of your videos. By the way, Reloading Weatherby, one of the comments that was on your video, I made a statement like that. Most guns are just junk. Well, people think, there's a huge misconception. People think that if you take 1 3/4 gun and that you do hand loads, and that even if you bed it, and even if you recrown it, and if you put a better rail on it, and if you put a better scope on it, that doing all that stuff is going to turn it into like a 1/2 inch gun, that's never going to happen. I shouldn't say never. I'm always using really hyperbolic language, but for the most part, that is never going to happen. Because even if you fix all that stuff, you're still limited by the initial quality of the barrel. And you got to think about this. I don't want to get to, you keep pulling me back if we can, right? Pull me back to the original subject. But you'll see in comments all the time, oh, I'm not spending $6,000 for a rifle, right? All right. The thing that they don't understand is the components cost $4,000. So you got to think about this now for a minute. You can go in the store and you can buy, in Sportsman's Warehouse, you know what I mean, off the shelf. You can buy an off-the-shelf gun, a pretty good, decent gun for what, $600, right? All right, you got to think about that. So that gun has to have a receiver, it has to have a barrel, it has to have a stock, it has to have all these things, and they're still selling it, let's just say, for $600. So you know they didn't give it to you for free, right? There had to be some level of profit in there. So the question you have to ask yourself is, if I can buy this gun for $600, where did they cut the corners? Yeah. Right? Where did they cut the corners? Because a custom gun that I'm building, just the components cost $4,000. For instance, and do me a favor, it'd be okay. Walk over there and get that Bartlein barrel. It's that yellow barrel laying behind that gun. See it? It's in a tube right there. Just slide it out and bring it over here. Watch it doesn't fall out of the mesh. But just bring it over here for a second. Okay, so this is a Bartlein barrel, and we showed this on another video somewhere, but here, this is just what the barrel blank cost. $487 just for the barrel blank, right? So if you have a factory gun that costs $600, you know that they didn't put a $500 barrel on it, right? They couldn't, because you had to have a receiver, you have to have a stock, you have to have everything else. And so the idea of a $6,000 gun isn't that it costs $6,000, it's that the components cost $4,000. And what you're paying for is super high quality receiver, super high quality barrel, super high quality stock, etc. And then all of those components put together properly ends up with an extremely accurate gun. So if we go back to our analogy, you start with 100 factory guns, some of them are going to shoot to some degree, all right? But most of them, we'll start on the bad end. You're going to have 10 or 20 of them that are just garbage. They're just not going to shoot. They're just, who knows how bad the barrel really is, but there's something really drastically wrong. Then you're going to have this other group that's in the middle, right? There's another 20, 30, 40 of them. Like I said, they're going to shoot 1 3/4. They're going to shoot 1.5 inches. Putting time and energy and money into them, in my experience, is foolish, because they're still, you're not going to take that 1 3/4 gun and make it into an honest to gosh 1-inch gun. Or let's, again, I don't want to be too dogmatic. Let's say for the most part that's not going to happen. In other words, it might happen with 1 or 2 of them. I have seen it. All right, but then in that same 100 group of 100 guns, now we're getting down into the 50 and under. So in that 50 and under, there's going to be, number 40, number 30, in that range, there's going to be some of them that shoot, let's just say they'll shoot inch, 7/8 to an inch, right? In my experience, for factory guns, those are pretty good guns. Those are the ones that are in the pretty good range, right? Now here's the question. So if you mess with them, you do the same thing you do to the 1.5-inch gun, are you going to take that 7/8 gun, say, and turn it into a 5/8 gun? Maybe, and maybe you'll get it down to 1/2 inch. All right, now let's go back to that group. So now we've only got 10 or 20 left. There's the 10 or 20 left and now that are over on this side. There are going to be a few of those that will shoot like maybe 1/2 inch. Maybe. We'll come back to this because the cartridges themselves really matter, right? And the only reason we know this is because every now and then somebody gets one of these. Out of all them 100, there's going to be 1 or 2 or maybe 3 that'll actually shoot under 1/2 inch. I've seen in my whole lifetime. So again, we're talking like maybe 500 rifles that I've actually shot. Other people, whatever, I shot them. I can only think of maybe 10 that actually like, wow, this is a really, in other words, it was nearly as accurate as a full-blown custom gun. Yet it was just an off-the-shelf factory gun. And so here's the thing that's interesting about that is, like the ones that come to mind, I'm thinking of a Remington 700 BDL in 222.
Okay.
222. That gun, no joke, that gun would shoot 3/10 of an inch. And I remember, this is years ago, ballistic tips had just come out. It would shoot 50 grain ballistic tips, 5 of them, in like 0.3. And it wasn't an anomaly. It just did that. You know what I mean? That's just what it did. I can think of a Remington 700 KS. That was called Kevlar stock. That was like, it was one of their higher end guns at the time. It was in 7 mag. That gun would shoot 1/2 inch. Like honest to God, 1/2 inch. Same deal. That was like 140 grain ballistic tips way back in the 80s when they first came out. I can think of a Remington 40X. You know what 40X is? 40X came out of their custom shop. This was a 40X KS, also Kevlar stock. That was also in 7 mag. No joke, that gun would shoot like 0.35 consistently. Like you'd take it out, you'd shoot it 0.35. God, I killed a lot of long range groundhogs in the East with that thing. I mean, that thing was just terror on groundhogs. And I shot some deer with that thing. So that thing was really awesome. I can think of 22 250s. I can think of a couple 22 250s over the years that I both owned or that were other guys' guns. Red pad Ruger 77s. Ancient old guns. You know, there's an interesting story about that I've never confirmed. They said that a bunch of those guns had, you know the story? I thought that they had shilling barrels on them or something. Like Ruger, the story was that Ruger couldn't keep up with barrels or something. And they got barrels, it might have been from Douglas. You ever hear of Douglas barrels?
Yes.
They're custom, you know, they're not, it's not Bartlein, it's not, but anyways, there was some of those guns supposedly that had good barrels on them. Anyways, I owned one. I knew another guy that had one, and they would shoot under 1/2 inch. 22 250s. Notice the cartridges, by the way. Then, okay, I can think of probably 3 or 4 .308 Winchesters. I have right now down at the house, I have 2 Savages that as they came out of the box, I can't remember what models they are, they're 110s, I think. They have fairly heavy barrels on them. Out of the box, they would shoot 168 grain Federal Gold Medal or 175 grain Sierra Gold Medal. They would shoot them like 0.6 out of the box, the way they came. And so both of those guns, I might show them to you when you're down there. Both of those guns, I think I recrowned them, I bedded them. I can't remember what all. I put rails on them. I did different things to them. And you know, both of those guns right now will shoot like 0.4 with factory ammo. Factory ammo. But again, .308 Winchester, right? I can think of like one .300 Winchester that was the same darn deal. I think that was a Remington 700. The deal is I have these memories of just a handful of factory guns that would really hammer. Like they would really hammer. But it's interesting. They were all in known inherently, which that's a horrible word, known inherently accurate cartridges. So that brings up a whole nother subject, you realize.